Narasimha, welcome. It's again such a pleasure to see you, and I'm certainly looking forward to hearing about your topic, and I know everyone else is too. This is going to be fascinating. So please take it away.
Okay, so in this session, I want to talk about annual charts. And as a matter of fact, when somebody comes to me for prediction, this is my staple. I don't even pay too much attention to the natal chart. I just go by Tajaka and Tithi Pravesh chart for the next year or two, and that's how I make real life predictions. And I find that these two techniques work really, really well. And one practical thing is when people come to you, they don't ask you how will things be for me 20 years later or 15 years later. They're not interested in knowing that 10 years later there's going to be a glorious phase in their life, in their career. Of course, that may also be useful to tell them, especially when you see something good on the horizon. But the thing is, people typically come to you with problems right now. They want to know when they're out of job. They want to know when they will find a job now. If they're thinking of a job change, they want to know whether right now is a good time to change job. In the next year or two, they can start a business, or when they can whether they can expect a child in the next 2 years or 3 years. They don't ask you what will happen 20 years or 30 years down the road. So
Right.
practically, right now is what we need to be focused on. And for that, you can of course look at the natal chart and the dashas and antardashas and transits. But the thing is, they show your life from a long term perspective. When you reflect on your life at the end of your life, how you see various phases. So something may take up a lot of emotional space right now, and during this year it may be the most important thing that you think of. But in the long scheme of things, in the long term, in the large scheme of things, it may not matter. So in that case, it may not be so prominently showing up in the natal chart. And moreover, when you look at the natal chart, each dasha may be 10 years, 15 years, and each antardasha may be a couple of years. So if you want to pinpoint these 2 months are good for you, look for a job right now so that you can get a job in this window of opportunity during September, October. If you want to make a prediction like that, the dashas, antardashas are not really that great. And if you dig down to the levels of Prachanta dasha, Sukshmanta dasha, things don't work as reliably as you would because we are missing some keys to using them. Dasha has to be treated as a progression and it has to be combined with transit, and we don't do that often. So bottom line is, using dasha itself from the natal chart is a limited technique. It can put spotlight on phases in life from a long-term perspective, from like 1 year 2 year granularity at best, or 10 15 20 year granularity. But when you need something at a finer granularity, annual charts are a must. And I find these two working very well. A few years back, I think 6 or 7 years back, I used to use only Tithi Pravesh. I used to claim that Tajaka doesn't work. But after the latest refinements, not only in the Ainamsha, but also in the definition of the Tajaka chart itself, Tajaka works very reliably for me. It works actually as well, if not better than, as the Tithi Pravesha chart. So we will. I don't want to give you too much theory on how you compute it, because you have Jagannath Hora. You can compute it yourself. I mean, you don't have to compute it yourself. You just type the year and they say find the chart, and then it gives you the chart. The only tricky thing is, like I said earlier, most of the Vedic astrologers use the sidereal solar year. So when sun comes back to his sidereal position every year, they cast a chart. But I am 100% convinced that you have to make the chart when sun comes back to his tropical position. And that makes a difference. That makes a difference of many hours for young people and many even days for older people. So a couple of days for somebody very old. And if somebody lives for 2000 years, it may make a difference of months also, a few months. Those two charts may be a few months off. So this is a very important point. So I'll show you in terms of the software. So let me share my screen again.
Great, yes.
So let's say, suppose we are looking at Swami Sivananda Saraswati of Divine Life Society, his chart. In 1924 June, he met his guru, he was given initiation, he became a sannyasi. Until and then that basically changed his life completely. Suppose I want to make the Tajaka chart further. Suppose I'll show you the option. So if you go to preferences related to calculations, and there should be a Tajaka calculation options. So this is the option that you have to use. And here right now it is you have to use exact solar motion. There is an exact solar motion and also mean solar motion option. Use exact, and that is what most people do anyway, but this is where most people do differently. They use the sidereal solar year. So this is 365.2563 days, and the other one is 365.24219 days. So obviously every year there is a 0.01 day here, so that basically accumulates over years. So I'll show you how it makes a difference in this case. So suppose I select sidereal, which is what everybody does, but I'm sure is wrong. So if you do this, if you find 1923 Tajaka chart, first note where Sun is. In the natal chart, Sun is at 2349 in Leo, right? 2349 in Leo. So just remember that. Or why remember it? Let's save it. 1 second. I think I have to, if I start another window, you won't see it, right? Okay, I'll just remember it. 2349 in Leo. Okay, Bettina can remember 23, Phyllis can remember 49, I'll remember Leo. So suppose we make the 1923 annual chart. It comes out in morning at 9:41:53 a.m. on September 9, 1923. Okay, 9:41 a.m. or 9:42 a.m. and Sun is still at the same longitude, 2349 in Leo. But this is the sidereal longitude. If you look at the Ainamsa, the Ainamsa is 2139. 21 degree 39 minutes is the Ainamsa right now. In the natal chart, it was 21 degree 9 minutes, right? 21.9. So if you compensate for the Ainamsa, if you add the Ainamsa to Sun's sidereal longitude, the tropical longitude is off by half a degree. So when I make the 1923 annual chart, if I add this plus this, I'm getting half degree. The value that I'm getting is half degree different. So if I say, and I'm suggesting that for finding the Rasi chart, Dashamsa chart, Navamsa chart, and all the charts, for reckoning charts, for the purpose of what I call as space, sidereal is the right zodiac. But for the purpose of time, reckoning time, seasons, years, etc., the tropical zodiac is the right zodiac. So you have to take the tropical position of Sun for reckoning years. So this is something that I firmly believe. For charts, use the sidereal. For time, use the tropical. So the problem is in Western astrology, they started using tropical for everything. So they use return of tropical Sun to his natal position. So they find the right date and time for the solar return charts that they make, but the chart that they make is wrong because they don't use the sidereal zodiac. Whereas Indian astrologers, they use sidereal zodiac, but the time that they find is off. So here, like I said earlier, it is coming to, what did we do? Right. So 1887 birth, and in 1923 it comes to 9:41:53. Okay. Now let's change the option, Alt PCT. Second, yeah, that's it, Alt PCT. So if you do this, this is changed to tropical solar year. Okay. Now if you make, now in natal chart, obviously Sun will still be at 2349. And now when you find the Tajaka chart, when you click that button, you're getting it earlier. Because if you remember earlier, Sun was half degree ahead in the tropical position, right? So it has to be half degree before. So it has to be approximately half a day sooner. So it is September 8 instead of 9, and it is 9:13 p.m. instead of 9, was it 12 or something, 9:41 or something in the morning. So instead of next morning, it is the previous night. So obviously the Lagna is way off. Everything is off. The chart is basically considerably different. Not only the divisional chart, even the Rasi chart will be different. Everything will be different. So I strongly recommend that, I suggest that this is the right way. And like I told you earlier, see, this gentleman was born in September, in the autumn time frame. So suppose he lives up to 5000 AD. Of course, he's no more. He has taken Samadhi long back. But suppose he lives till 5000 AD and you're making annual chart, you will see that In this method, it is coming on September 5. It is coming close to the autumn equinox. But if you do the other option, Alt PCT, if you do the sidereal option, and if you make the Tajakas chart, it will come in October 20. It is basically shifted by a month. So if he lives another a few more thousand years, it will come in November, December. So it will come close to the winter equinox a few thousand years later, instead of coming close. Winter solstice instead of coming close to autumn equinox. So it will shift seasons. So somebody who was born in autumn, his birth may shift towards winter, it may shift towards summer, assuming he lives thousands and thousands of years. But the bottom line is that the year that you are using has no real basis in terms of seasons, ayanas, ritus, etc. We basically divide the year into two ayanas into three ritus, etc. All that basically breaks down. So I strongly recommend that you use the other option. So let's go back to Tajaka. So I will not show this difference again. I'll just stick to tropical. And when you do when you apply this in your own examples, I suggest that you do this. So make sure that your Tajaka calculation options are selecting tropical solar year. And now when I say that I mix sidereal and tropical for time and sidereal for space, people get confused whether I'm mixing both in the chart. Everything is based on sidereal. The only thing where I use tropical is arriving at this time. So this time was arrived by using tropical zodiac. So you can see that Sun is, instead of being at 2349, he's at 2319, right? At this time. And the thing is, if you add the Ainamsa to that, because the Ainamsa has moved ahead by half degree, even though this longitude is behind by half degree, the tropical longitude will still be the same. So that's the basic idea. So Jagannath Hora takes the tropical zodiac under the hood for you. Even if you select Pushpaksha Ainamsa, it selects the tropical sun under the hood, and when it arrives at this time, this date and this time, when you click this button, when it finds this date and time, it under the hood uses the tropical calculations for sun. That's it. And once it finds this date and time and it makes a chart, it uses sidereal, whatever Ainamsa you have chosen. In this case, Pushpaksha Ainamsa. So if you see this chart, you will see that excuse me, do you see any important combinations in the Vimshamsa chart? Vimshamsa is the chart of spiritual progress, spiritual evolution. First of all, excuse me, the 12th house is really strong here. Yes. The 12th house, there is a Dhimanta Yoga between 5th and 6th Lord. 5th Lord Sun and the 6th Lord Mercury are giving a Dhimanta Yoga in the 12th house. And also the Lord of UL is also there. And also you see that UL is conjoined with A5. UL shows renunciation, tangible renunciation. Not just renunciation that is inside my heart, inside my mind, in my spirit, but in renunciation that the world can see. So UL Lord is Venus and it is conjoining A5. A5 shows a tangible manifestation of Purva Punya. 5th house is Purva Punya. So as a result of my Purva Punya, I may feel some blessing may come to me, or I may feel really blessed. But the thing is, world may not see it. But if a guru just comes to me, gives me diksha, and my life has transformed, world can see that. So that's a tangible manifestation of your Purva Punya. So A5 is tangible manifestation of Purva Punya, and UL is your tangible manifestation of renunciation. And those are conjoining, and the Lord of those signs, Venus, is exalted in the 12th house from them, which is basically very auspicious. And from Lagna, the 12th house contains 3 planets. There is a nice combination in the 12th house, and also this is a very sattvic house, Pisces. So 3 planets in Pisces, including the 5th Lord of Purva Punya, is conducive. More importantly, see the 4th house. It is very powerful. Why? There is a planet in own sign and a planet who is exalted. And it is also Gajakesari Yoga. It is also Raja Yoga. Because the 4th Lord and 9th Lord are together, this is a Raja Yoga. And what does this show? 4th house shows direction, feeling comfortable with what you are doing and feeling like you have a good direction. Peace coming from having a good direction. And the 9th house is Dharma and Guru. So Jupiter, the Lord of the ninth house, is conjoining the fourth Lord. So this shows a guru coming into your life and giving a direction. And because of that, you feel comfortable. You know what you want to do. So before this, for many years, he was reading books and he was wondering how he can pursue spirituality. And once the guru came and gave him Diksha, he had faith. He just followed. He just did sadhana for the next few years. And that changed his life. So that is shown by a very powerful fourth house. And also very powerful ninth lord, really. Ninth lord is very powerful. So all this basically is this strength of fourth house and the 12th house. By the way, both of them are moksha trikonas. So two moksha trikonas are really strong in this Vimshamsa. So you can see that there is something really cool going on in this Vimshamsa. So if you see this Vimshamsa in somebody's chart, you can see that he will get some spiritual direction in that life. In that year. Now, whether he will get Diksha and become a sannyasi or not, that is very difficult. The degree to which this will manifest, for that you have to consult the Rasi chart. Just because I see this combination in somebody's Vimshamsa, I can't predict that he will renounce that year. But the thing is, you can see that something is happening. Some renunciation kind of thing and some good direction is happening. Exactly the intensity of that and how exactly that may manifest, I have to see the limits on various possibilities as seen in the natal chart. So that is how I use the natal chart. But the thing is, if somebody is asking me when will I get some spiritual experience, mystical experience, or when will I get a promotion in career, then I can just look at, assuming that there's a possibility, I just look at the annual chart and try to make some prediction with it. And now let's take another example. Let's take the example of Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, and let's take 1893. 1893 September, he shot to fame. Of course, that fame was still limited. It was in future years that he became even more of a celebrity. But that did definitely in a small group of people who were interested in religion and spirituality, he became a very important person. He became a very eloquent and intelligent person, and people started inviting him to various places to give speeches, etc. So if you see the let's see the dasamsa of your activities in the society. So if you see the dasamsa of Tajakas chart of 1893, and if you see the dasamsa, you see that as far as lagna is concerned, this is basically the internal feeling of the person, that is lagna. So from that, the fifth house is aspected by the fifth lord. So in general, lord of a house aspecting that house is powerful for that house. And secondly, there is a Rajyoga between fourth lord and the ninth lord. Ninth lord shows guru's blessings and also bhagya, fortune, and the fourth lord shows sense of direction and peace. So the fourth lord and the ninth lord are together in the fourth house of direction. So the activities of this person in the society will get a clear direction. And also this has to do with dharma, because the sign is Sagittarius and Jupiter is there. So he gets a clear dharmic direction to his work. And also because the fifth house is aspected by the fifth lord, there is some recognition that the person feels. There is some the fifth bhava, which is basically internal bhava, internal feeling of the person, shows that there is some recognition. But the thing is, look at it from the perspective of the Arudha Lagna. If you see, instead of Lagna, if you see from the Arudha Lagna, which is basically the image in the world, the Lagna is having the Lagna Lord itself. Even though it's afflicted by the sixth Lord, the fact that Lagna Lord is in Lagna makes the Lagna very powerful. So this combination of Lagna Lord in Lagna, and the thing is, the planet who's in giving a Rajyoga from Lagna is also a very powerful planet giving a Rajyoga in the chart, and also he is very powerful with respect to the AL. So these factors basically, and also if you see the fifth house from the Arudha Lagna, right? The fifth house from Arudha Lagna, the lord of that house is Mars, and Mars, even though he's not very strong, he's in the third house. He's well placed. For Mars, third house is a good placement. So the lord of the fifth house from Arudha Lagna is well placed, and the lord of the fifth house from Lagna is aspecting that house. And one more thing is the Rajyoga that we mentioned earlier between the Lord of Arudha Lagna and the Lord of A5, Venus, Venus, he happens to be the Lord of A5. That is a factor that I haven't mentioned before. A5, A5, which shows tangible manifestation of following of a person. He's in the he's owned by Venus, and his Lord and Arudha Lagna Lord are together in a Kendra from Lagna. So that Rajoga is even more powerful because it triggers A5 and AL. And now we can do one more thing. There is also something known as Tithi Pravesha. Tithi Pravesha is basically, it is a chart. I won't again bore you with details of how it is computed because you don't need to know. You can just look at you can use the software. But basically what we do is, when Sun is back in the sign where he is in the natal chart, in that month, when Moon is exactly at the same angle from Sun, in other words, same Tithi and the percentage of Tithi left, you see that there is a particular Tithi the person was born and a particular percentage was left. So when that is the case, when that time comes, when the same Tithi comes and same percentage of the Tithi is left, you make a chart. And now the tricky thing is, some people take when Sun is back in the sidereal sign, and here again my refinement is, you have to take tropical signs. So when Sun is back in the tropical sign that he occupies, in that month, when the Moon comes to Moon is exactly at the same angle from Sun, you make a chart. So most of the times it will be the same. About 3/4 or 80% of the cases it will be the same, but in 1/4 of a cases it may be a month off. It may be a previous month or the next month. So compared to what people normally do, you will pretty much get the same. Unlike in Tajakas chart, where the chart can be off by many hours every year, here 75% of the cases you will get the same chart, or 25% of the cases you will get 1 month before or after. So let's see and again you just enter the year number and make the Tithi Pravesh chart. So if you see that annual chart for that year, you will see that from the Lagna, 5th Lord Mars is in a Adhimitra Rasi. He's in a trine. 5th Lord Mars is in 9th house. He's in an Adhimitra Rasi. So 5th Lord is strong, and also the 9th Lord of Fortune, Jupiter, is in Mula Trikona. So from the Lagna, you are seeing some good combinations. But the thing is, these are not very powerful. Just like in the other Tajakas chart, where the only thing that we saw from the Lagna, apart from Raj Yoga, only thing involving the 5th house was the fact that the 5th Lord Saturn was aspecting 5th. That is good, but that's not super strong. So internally, he doesn't feel like he's getting big following, and he doesn't feel like something big is happening. But from the Arudha Lagna, if you see the Arudha Lagna, you see that the Lagna Lord is in the 5th house, which is a very nice thing. And the 5th Lord Jupiter is in own sign. He's in Mula Trikona. So from Arudha Lagna, you see that the 5th house is very powerful. The Lagna Lord is in 5th house and 5th Lord is in Mula Trikona. So you see that the 5th house and Arudha Lagna are activated here also. And moreover, A5, which basically shows tangible manifestation of following and recognition, A5 is aspected by Mars. So Mars is the 5th Lord from Lagna, Arudha Lagna Lord, and he's in the 5th house from Arudha Lagna, and he's aspecting the A5. And his dispository is in Mula Trikona. So Mars and Jupiter will basically show that this is a very auspicious year for getting some following and recognition in the career. And let's stick to Dasamsa, but let's take a political chart. Suppose we take Ronald Reagan, whose chart we saw earlier. So take Ronald Reagan. So first let's see the Tajakas chart, and he became president, I believe, in 1980 November. Elections were in 1980 November. He became president in 1981 January. But the thing is, we have to make 1980 chart. So let's take 1980 Tajakas chart first. Okay. So let's see the oh, not 1989. I was wondering why there's nothing really showing here strongly. I mistyped 1980, not 1989. So make 1980 annual chart. Okay, so this is the Tajakas chart for 1980. So see this chart. Are there any nice Rajogas or combinations in this chart? So first of all, from Lagna, the fifth house contains Venus and Moon, which is not really a Rajoga. It's basically a good combination. Venus and Moon are both very auspicious planets, but the thing is, both of them are quadrant lords. So they being conjoined is not really that great. But the thing is, two quadrant lords in a trine, that's basically a good placement. But that itself doesn't show being powerful. And see the longitude of, see how the fifth lord is. Fifth lord sun, even though you may think that he is in the eighth house, actually look at the longitudes. Lagna is at 21 degree Aries and sun is at 0 degree Scorpio. So really, if you look at longitudes, the seventh house starts at 21 degree Libra. So it goes from 21 degree Libra to about 6 degree Scorpio. So 0 degree Scorpio is actually in the seventh house. So sun is in a friendly sign, is in an Adhimitra Rasi, and he is in a quadrant. So the fifth lord sun is in a quadrant, and fifth house contains two quadrant lords, and he's in Adhimitra Rasi. And more importantly, the 10th house is another important house apart from the fifth house of power. So if you look at the 10th house, how is the 10th house? The 10th lord is in the 10th house. 10th lord Saturn occupies the 10th house, and also 9th lord Jupiter is with him. Right? So there is a Rajoga here, between Dharmakarmadhipati Yoga, between 9th and 10th lords. And also, how is Lagna lord? Lagna lord Mars, if you look at longitudes, he's actually in the 11th house itself, almost on the cusp of 11th house. So he's having very close aspect on the 5th house. So 5th lord is in Adhimitra Rasi, and the Lagna lord is having close aspect on the 5th house, and there is a Raja Yoga in the 10th house. Right? So overall, you see that things are quite auspicious here. So there are other factors that you can see, but let's not spend too much time. Let's go to the Tithi Pravesh of the same year, 1980. So if you see the Tithi Pravesh of 1980, you see the Lagna. So the indications are even stronger here than in the other chart. You see that Lagna is in Leo, and the fifth house contains fifth lord Jupiter in Mulatrikona and also Yokarka Mars. So Yokarka being in the fifth house and fifth lord being in Mulatrikona there, it is very powerful. And the Lagna lord is in the 10th house. But he is not very strong. He is not in a friendly sign, but still Lagna lord is in the 10th house. So the strength of the fifth house here does suggest to you that he will have some success during that year, some following and success in polls. So if somebody is going to elections during such a year, you can expect that there will be auspicious results rather than inauspicious results. And let's quickly see the 1984 chart when he was re-elected as the president. So if you see the Tithi Pravesh chart first, you will see that the Lagna Lord Venus is in the 11th house. He's aspecting the 5th house of power. But more importantly, from the Arudha Lagna, the Yokarka Venus is aspecting it. The 4th and 9th Lord Venus is aspecting the Arudha Lagna, and the 5th Lord Mercury is conjoining Rahu. The 5th Lord from Arudha Lagna Mercury and the Arudha Lagna Lord Rahu. Rahu is Arudha Lagna Lord, by the way. So both of them are conjoined in the 3rd house, and being natural malefics, both Mercury and Rahu are natural malefics here in this chart. For them, being in the 3rd house is auspicious. So they are in the 3rd house, and they are this Rajoga between 5th Lord and Lagna Lord shows great success. As a matter of fact, this chart is even stronger than the previous chart. So it just shows killing the opponent. I mean, not literally killing, basically destroying the opponent. And if you see the 1988 chart, when he retired, when he basically he was no longer the president. See the 10th house of career. This has a eclipse of moon. Whenever there is Sun Rahu, Moon Rahu, Sun Ketu, Moon Ketu combination, there is something untoward about that. So this is kind of like an eclipse happening in the 10th house of career. And also 10th Lord Mars is also afflicted by Saturn and Ketu. And also 10th Lord Sun, where is he placed? 10th Lord Sun is placed in the 8th house of basically break. break in career. And take from Arul Lagna, because that is the image in the minds of people. The 10th Lord Mars, he's a Yokarka. He's not bad, but still he's in the 8th house with Saturn and Ketu. And Ketu, Saturn is the planet of withdrawal, Ketu is the planet of deprivation. So Saturn be Mars being 10th Lord being in 8th from with Saturn and Ketu, it shows basically retiring or withdrawing into
Hmm.
some kind of retirement. Even if he had a career later on, even if somebody have a president has a career later on, I don't think in Ronald Reagan's case he did, but suppose Barack Obama has a career again, he becomes active in the public life later, still the fact that in that particular year he retired, so that's a big event from that particular year's point of view. And even before he retires, he's considered a lame duck in the last few months of the presidency, so he's kind of withdrawing. So that you should see some strong combination showing that in the dasamsa. So let's see the Tajaka chart. Quickly see 84 chart. If you see the 1984 chart, you will see that the fifth house, the Lagna Lord Saturn is in the fifth house in an Adhimitra Rasi, and he is conjoining the ninth Lord Mercury. So Mercury and Saturn, ninth and Lagna Lords are conjoined in the fifth house of power. So basically, all the Dharma Trikonas are covered. Lagna Lord, ninth Lord in the fifth house. And both of them are in Adhimitra Rasi because their dispositor Venus is within the three signs next to them. So they are in Adhimitra Rasis. They are in very super friendly signs. And the fifth Lord and Yokarka Venus, he's in Ghati Lagna, but anyway, that may be inaccurate. I didn't rectify this chart so accurately. So let's not rely on Ghati Lagna. I only am sure of the Lagna. So Venus, the fifth Lord and Yokarka is aspecting the Lagna, and he's in a quadrant. So basically, the chart is inherently strong. And you can see from Arul Lagna also, fifth Lord is in friendly sign, and Arul Lagna is containing the Lord of itself. So again, this is very powerful. Even compared to 1980 chart, both Tajaka and Tithi Pravesh are showing a more powerful chart in 1984. So basically, during that year, he was re-elected as the president with I believe with a higher majority. And if you see the 1988 chart, you will see that the Lagna contains 10th Lord Sun, so that is good. And Lagna Lord Mars is in the 10th house, and he is with Rahu. So this Mars Rahu combination in the 10th house, basically that can again and also there is Saturn influence. So the fact that Lagna Lord Mars is in the 10th house under Saturn Rahu Ketu influence can suggest some kind of deprivation or some kind of Saturnine or Ketu kind of event during the year with respect to the career of the person. And also the fifth house of power, the lot of that is in the sixth house. Basically, fifth lord in the sixth house is never good for fifth. It's basically second and eighth are the houses of Marka houses. So the fifth lord in the sixth shows break or killing of the fifth house matter. If it is Saptamsa, it shows some problems for child. If it is in career, it shows some lots of power. And moreover, the eighth lord of break or setback or loss, he is in the fifth house of power. So it does show some loss of power here. So this along with the Tajaka Tithi Pravesh chart that we saw are giving some indications of some loss of power during this particular year. So this is because he's a president. Suppose this was the chart of a regular person. So if you see that 10th lord is in 8th or 8th house is very strong, you can expect some setbacks. But I don't recommend telling the customer or somebody who approaches you, if he tells you there are some changes happening at my workplace, do you think I'll get laid off? I don't suggest basically being honest with the person. I suggest saying, yeah, there are very strong indications of some problem. So always focus on the positive. Don't say, yeah, you're doomed, man. You'll be out of job for 2 years. So
Sure.
what I do is I try to basically give them guidance. When things are positive, I give them confidence. When things are negative, I try to tell them focus on so-and-so deity. You can worship. And for that, I don't look at the Tajakas chart for deities. I go back to the natal chart, see which dashas, antardashas are running, and which planets are particularly strong for that particular area of life, and tell them to worship that devata, corresponding to that devata. And people who are not comfortable worshipping deities, I tell them to do some good deeds relating to that deity. Suppose it is Mercury, you can donate to a library. Suppose it is Saturn, you go to slums and do some social service there, like that. Suppose it is Mars, donate to the police or soldiers, some organization associated with the military. So like that, you can do some good work, or you can worship a deity. But focus on, when you see something negative, focus on the positive aspects and try to give some hope. But sometimes it is very useful to be honest, because if I see that somebody is out of job for the last 3 months and they ask me when will I find a job, when I see the current Tajakas chart, Tithi Pravesh chart, suppose both of them show bad indications, and I see the next year, suppose both of them again show really bad indications, I don't really see any hope. Suppose I see the next year and suppose I see some hope there, then I have to tell them. I can't tell them, yeah, worship this devata and then things will happen. They won't happen in the next 2 months or 3 months. He will become disappointed. So I have to set the expectations in those cases. I tell them the chance of finding something good is very low in the next few years, but I do see excellent hope 3 years later. So 3 years later, I think a very good phase is coming in your life. I may overemphasize the positive there. I may basically make it more positive than it is, but I try to give them some hope based on something that is out there in future. And then I say, during this time, it is important to worship so-and-so deities and don't expect quick results. Do that over a couple of years, and also be prepared for this. If you have to reset your life or change your lifestyle to accommodate this, you have to probably take those steps. So I try to set the expectations, but for those things, instead of looking at the natal chart and dashas, I use them for just for cross verification. But the thing that I really rely on is the Tajaka and Tithi Pravesh charts. Once I am confident of the time of the person based on life events from the life that has already happened, I try to basically see if it makes sense. Suppose somebody told me I got promotion this year. When I see the chart, suppose it doesn't make sense. And I say, what if Lagna is previous sign? Like I showed you earlier, even in Tajakas chart, you can do this. When will Lagna change? So 36 seconds earlier, it will change. Whereas 14 minutes later, it will change. If you go to the natal chart, the window is different. It is 8 minutes, 7 minutes. So even though the natal chart and the dasha doesn't allow you to confidently rectify, you can make annual charts when he became president, when he was re-elected, when he retired. You can see which lagna is making things more, with which lagna things are making more sense. Fix that lagna. So when you do that for a person based on the past, you can be more confident about the future. But the thing is, you should always know what is the time window in which you believe the lagna lies, in which you believe the birth time lies. So it may be 5 minutes, or it may be 2 minutes, or it may be half minute. So based on all the events, have a sense of that. And whenever you make a Tajaka or Tithi Pravesh chart, check immediately what the leeway is and see if it is falling within that window or not. And if it is not falling within that window, then I will not really be confident. I will basically either not make a prediction, just ignore the person, or say, I'm not sure, man. So, and in that case, you can go back and say, hey, can you tell me some more things about your career in the last few years? So you can possibly take more events and try to rectify further. But the bottom line is, your predictions will only be when you are not relying on intuition, when you are relying more on technical methods taught by the Rishi. When you are relying on analytical approach, you have to make sure that the time is accurate. So for that, spend enough time on your previous events. So let's take one more example of Sri Ramana Maharshi. Just like Sivananda, in whose case his guru came and suddenly found him and gave initiation, and he was all set. He knew exactly what he needed to do. This gentleman, Ramana Maharshi, in 1896, June or July, I think July 16, he suddenly experienced something. What I believe is a Kundalini awakening and Kundalini going to Sahasrara. So basically he experienced that he was not the body. He experienced that he was just this. light that just filled the entire universe. And when he came out of the state, he was confused, and he was confident that whatever reality he's perceiving right now is nonsense. So he wanted to be in the state all the time. So he did a lot of sadhana after that for many years. He sat in a cave. He didn't care about food. People basically came and fed him some food. After they discovered him, there were sores on his buttocks. There were sores and there were worms in his buttocks because he was sitting continuously for such a long time. He did tremendous sadhana, but the thing is, all that was triggered in 1896, and because it happened before the birth was in December, and the event happened in 1896 July. We want to make it for 1895, because the year that started in December 1895 is the one that was still running in July 1896. So if you make the Tajakas chart for Ramana Maharshi for 1895, and let's go to Vimshamsa. Okay, so if you go to the Vimshamsa chart, okay, now see this chart. So first of all, there is a what are the good combinations? One is there is a parivartana between the 9th Lord Mercury of blessings of gods and Lagna Lord Venus. So Lagna Lord Venus is in 9th house, 9th Lord Mercury is in Lagna. So that is a Raj Yoga. The Raj Yoga between Lagna and 9th Lord shows blessings of either gurus or devatas. So whatever experience came to him, he may not have done enough sadhana in that life, but obviously he had done long back. So the blessings from that came. Some guru somewhere, even though he may not have met physically, some guru in some astral plane had blessed him, and some devatas had blessed him. So that experience came to him, which transformed his life and also transformed many more lives later on in coming century. So that is basically this Rajoga. Also 5th house of Purapunya, that is aspected by his own Lord. So 5th house is strong and Lagna and 9th house are strong. But the thing is, experiences of this nature have to be, this is basically some kind of death-like experience. So like I said earlier, Kundalini awakening and reaching Sahasrara, like I said in a previous example with the natal chart, it is basically it is kind of like a death. Your pursuit of your search for who am I is coming to an end. It is basically dying. And Vimshamsa shows search for yourself. And if you see that Mars, the 7th Lord and 2nd Lord, he's the Marka for Libra Lagna, and he's in the 8th house. Always 8th Lord in 7th or 7th Lord in 8th is a Marka combination. In one of the charts I showed you, two charts I showed you earlier with natal dasas in T20. In one case, the 8th Lord Ketu was in 2nd house and his dasa triggered the experiences. In another chart, 7th Lord Ketu was in 8th house and his dasa triggered the experiences. Similarly here, 2nd Lord and 7th Lord Mars is in 8th house. So that does suggest some mystical experience or some death-like experience which will show you what self is. And secondly, 12th house is very important for liberation, right? And this experience, even if it is for a few moments, this experience of not knowing your body, not knowing anything, not identifying with anything at all, and just being this free, all-pervading light, that experience of Kundalini reaching the highest chakra, which can come after a million volt. You can feel like there's a million volt electricity explosion. After that, you don't exist. You are just this light. So that experience that Ramana experienced, and a couple of other examples I shared also experienced, that can be the 12th house. I'm not talking about UL here because the world cannot see it. UL is tangible manifestation of your renunciation, your freedom, tangible manifestation of your freedom. So wearing saffron clothes and going to an ashram and being a monk, all these things are what the world can see. So those you see from the UL. But the thing is, actual freedom that you feel inside, because you know that this is not it, there is something else, and you have touched it. So the freedom that you experience is the 12th house, and Ketu of course is the karaka for that. So you see that the 12th house is very strong. The 12th lord is in Lagna, and 12th house contains Rahu and Ketu. So that is another factor. So the dominance of the 12th house and this Marga combination in the 8th house, and the blessing shown in the first house and Lagna, and fifth house being aspected by the fifth lord. All these things basically very strongly show some powerful internal experience. And the thing is, from Aruh Lagna, you don't see any powerful things yet. So what it means is, it has nothing to do with his image. From the point of view of people around him, he's just a regular young kid. He's just a I think 16 or 17-year-old kid who just ran away from home. He just took a little money, ran away from home, and he went to a temple. In the beginning, he was just living on the premises of the temple, and then he found a cave and he just started meditating there. So Aruh Lagna doesn't really show anything, but from Lagna, things are really outstanding here. So that is basically what you can see from the annual charts. So on this note, I can take up more examples in a future session, but I want to end this session on this auspicious example of Ramana Maharshi, Sri Ramana Maharshi. So the bottom line is, if you have an accurate birth time, and if you don't, you have to make it accurate by fitting the known events based on natal chart and dasas, and based on annual charts, either Tajaka, which is solar return chart, or Tithi Pravesh, which is solely lunar return chart. Use these two charts and rectify the time. And once you are confident about the time, if you want to make future predictions for the next year or the next year or the next year, make the annual chart. See how dasas and antardasas are at the natal chart level, but more importantly, see how the annual chart is, and directly go to the chart of relevance, divisional chart. Of course, you can see the Rasi chart also, by the way. And compared to the natal chart, in the annual charts, Rasi charts they are more relevant, because whatever is happening in a particular area of life during that particular year, there is a good chance that if it's an important event, life-defining event, it's important that it will manifest somehow in your physical life. For example, in his case, he left home and he started wandering. So he had this powerful experience which made him leave home. So there should be something relating to that. And similarly, if somebody was promoted and he's happy, he should be in the physical chart, in the Rasi chart, there should be some happiness. Basically, that means so much to him. Somebody getting promotion or somebody being out of job, getting a job means so much to him that it should make him happy physically. Or if somebody is waiting for a child and in a particular year, a child is born, it should make him so happy. It should be such an important thing that it should manifest in a physical way also. So Rasi chart also is important, but the thing is, I give dominance to the divisional chart. Compared to Rasi chart, when I focus on the divisional chart, I see things more clearly. So instead of beating around the bush with the Rasi chart, I insist on focusing on the divisional chart. The only exception is if the area of life that people are asking me about relate to the health, physical well-being of the person. Obviously, then don't look at the divisional charts. Just go by the Rasi chart. Rasi chart is the chart of physical well-being. So if you want to see how the person is doing, whether there is any sickness, etc., look at the Rasi chart. So otherwise, if a particular area of life, if somebody says, my career is really, really bad, I'm very stressed out, can you help me? If you see that Dasamsa is actually good based on natal chart as well as annual charts, but maybe the Rasi chart is bad. In that case, I will look at Rasi chart and say, is there anything bad here? So it is possible that the person is actually having a good career, but his physical existence is having problems. So the projection of this particular area of life onto the physical life is giving him trouble. So things are going fine, but he's working too hard on his career, and as a result, maybe his wife is mad at him, and as a result, maybe he's having trouble, and he's somehow in his mind thinking that my career is giving me trouble, but maybe it's not the career, maybe it's a byproduct of the career. So like that, sometimes I consult the Rasi chart and I want to reconcile what the person is telling me with what I see in the chart. So Rasi chart is important because it shows how a particular area of life is impacting your real day-to-day physical life. So Rasi chart is important, but if you want to give specific results relating to career, children, marriage, spiritual progress, knowledge, studies, etc., I strongly recommend focusing on the divisional chart. And that is what Parashara taught. This is not really Narasimha way. This is the Parashara way. It is just that people haven't found a way to make it work smoothly. And based on, luckily, I just chanced upon an Ainamsha. I just chanced upon this divisional chart rectification, and luckily I have a combination that seems to be working well for me, and that is why I'm putting more stress on the divisional chart. But I suggest to others, those who listen to this lecture series, please try it yourself on charts that you know, and if things are not making sense, try to change the time a little bit and explain them, and then see if you can explain. And in future, if you can't explain no matter what, maybe you can share it in some Yahoo group like Vedic Astrology Yahoo group, or some other forum that we are going to come up with, or share it with Saptarishis Astrology Facebook forum. And eventually, if I can get those charts, maybe I can spend some time going through such charts and making sense of things. So we will go through more examples in future so that
Wonderful.
understand. But I tried to lay out the foundation and give some examples so that people can replicate this with their own charts.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Very well.